Stohs, and I'm here to talk about what's going on with your client therapist paper. As you've probably figured out by looking through the syllabus and the course pack and so on, it's worth 50 points out of 500, so it's really an important assignment. And of course, all the directions are in the course pack, but I do want to talk a bit about what we'll be doing as a group. So right now in the class table, which means that we have an even number of students and each student should take a partner. So for instance, the person who's number one versus you should team up with the person who's number two, and then each of you should maybe get together on Skype or Zoom or Facebook, whatever, and each play both roles, both the client and the therapist. And so, for instance, in our course pack, there are descriptions of two cases, so each of you can take one of the cases. First time through, one of you should decide to be the therapist and then the other the client. When you're done walking through the whole series of exercises in our course pack, then switch roles. If you don't like the names of the clients in the course pack, change the names. But basically, the story should remain the same. There's John, and John has trouble because his wife had an affair, and he's not very motivated, and his kids are away and from the home. So John has some real struggles with feeling accepted and loved and so on. Plus, he's got some issues at work. The second case is Janine, and she's younger than John, but also has issues related to her marriage as well as her work as an accountant. And essentially, if you're playing those roles, you want to try to really put yourself in the shoes of one or the other of those clients. How would you feel? Maybe you'd have some additional issues and insights that you want to add. The basic story should be the same when you're playing those roles, but you can add some additional kinds of details about maybe some illnesses they have or insomnia or other relationships they have that might interfere with their therapy. In any case, what you need to do is pair up with another student in class because they will understand what's going on with the testing and the ultimate analysis of the case. And so, as I said, you will work with a classmate. What I will do, I've already actually downloaded the class list, but what I will do is put that onto our Canvas page, and then you will see, who's number one, who's number two. One and two will work together, three and four will work together, and so on. And that should make it pretty forthright. And so, as I've said, all the instructions for it are in the course pack. Read through those instructions before you attempt to do your role plays. And then when you do your role plays, probably best to do it through some kind of visual medium. And so what you will write about then after you've completed the analysis will be drawn from your interpretation of how they scored on the various tests. You'll also want to write about their behavior during the interview. So if somebody's really playing Janine or John, they want to maybe, if they're John, look down or look really depressed. If they're Janine, maybe more anxious and so on. But you want to not only observe, but you want to report on some of the details they've conveyed to you. Then you move on to giving them a sample, one picture from the TAT. They can look at the picture in their own course pack. Then, of course, you'll use part of a standardized test that's very well regarded in psychology and used to gauge depression and anxiety. You'll also use a Bender test, and the Bender is basically a test to see if somebody has problems with perceptual capacity or maybe problems with their cognition. Maybe they have some brain damage or something of that nature that doesn't allow them to properly reproduce one of the images. They don't have to do more than one, just one of the images. And then, of course, after you've gathered all the information, you want to use that GAF scale, the Generalized Assessment of Functioning scale, again in the course pack, and give the client a score, maybe even a 10-point scale score or an individual score that you think properly reflects their overall capacity to function psychologically, socially, and maybe in other domains as well, maybe with self-care. So that's what you're going to write about in your paper. Most students will be able to write about it in pretty good detail in about 1.5 to 2 pages and cover all those topics. Please make sure to create separate paragraphs for each component of the experience because, again, we're also going to be grading your writing. And good writing means that you use one paragraph to express one concept and its development. So, for instance, if you're talking about the client's behavior, you'll say, okay, in terms of what I observed as I interviewed my client, I noticed that, they were doing da da da. Their foot was shaking, or they were very restless, or they talked very quickly during the interview. So you want to back up any claim that you make about their behavior with evidence. And then, of course, another paragraph would be used for the TAT, what they said, how they interpreted that picture, then another paragraph for the standardized psychological test, etc. And so when you send the paper in via the course link, we're going to be looking at all of those components of your writing. And, hey, hopefully you'll have fun meeting another classmate, interacting with another classmate. And as I've said, you don't have to use the names John and Janine. You can give them more interesting names if you wish. But nonetheless, the basic story for each one should be pretty much the same. Sometimes students make mistakes and they'll just interview a friend and put down the friend's personal information. That's going to lose you a lot of points. So avoid that mistake. Just use your course pack. The course packet can be obtained and should be obtained before the class begins through the bookstore, the campus bookstore, Titan bookstore. And I'm sure they're happy to send you materials through the mail, so you won't physically have to go to campus, etc. The contact person I use at the bookstore is Adrian Pedroza, which is APEDROZA at fullerton.edu. So looking forward to working with you session and really want you to do the best you can on this client therapist analysis. Okay, talk to you soon. Bye-bye.